Welcome back to the channel, everybody. Welcome back to the Monday SITREP, the new format. I'm CB Harris, your host, and thank you guys for stopping by, all of you ambassadors of arms and diplomats of defense. Today, we're going to talk about Donald Trump and the Pope, and we're also going to talk about the life or death files, news stories of self-defense in the news, and ways people have used their firearms to defend themselves and their families and others. And as well as there's a new product out for your Glock handgun. I'm really excited about it, and I bet you guys will be too. Let's talk about the subject for this week. We're going to talk about the Pope and Donald Trump. And in case you guys have been living on the moon for the last week or something like that, the Pope was recently asked by a journalist what he thought of people, particularly Donald Trump, wanting to build a wall and keep people out of America. And the Pope commented that he believes someone who is more interested in building walls than bridges is not a Christian. Now, I don't want to take what the Pope said out of context. I kind of think he was a little set up by the journalist there, and I don't think he was trying to particularly call somebody out. I think he was kind of put on the spot, and I have respect for the Pope. I'm not Catholic, I am Christian, but I do have issue with what he said because I have doors on my house. I lock those doors. I have windows that I lock. And it's not that I'm not a charitable person. It's not that I don't care about my fellow man. It has to do with keeping my family safe. It doesn't mean that I don't care what is going on outside of my doors. It doesn't mean that I don't care about, people who are homeless or less fortunate. It doesn't mean I don't care about them. It means that I care about my family as well, and I am worried about their safety and their protection. And on a grander scale, I guess we could look at that the same way when we're talking about America. It's not that we don't care about other people. It's not that we don't worry about them and want them to succeed as well. It's that we need to worry about ourselves and our own safety. And, at the same time, we have to consider that just because we're building a wall, doesn't mean that there's no bridge. There is a bridge. There is a way to become an American citizen. And there is a legal and a right way to do it. And I think that that's the point, is that we want to keep the people out who are trying to get here illegal, trying to go for that free ride and the easy way out. We want the best and we want the brightest, those who are willing to work hard for it. I know that, I was born an American citizen. I didn't have to work hard for it necessarily. And maybe that's just the luck of my birth. But, we can't let everybody in. There's just not room in America for every person in the world to be here. So we need to be somewhat selective. We want the best. We want the brightest. We want to help as well. I get that. But there's a right way and a wrong way to do it. And I think the point is that we want to maybe make people to try to do it the right way. It means more. And there's a reason why they call it illegal immigration. It's against the law. Is that really the foot forward that you want to put when you're becoming a new American, is by doing it illegally? Your first act is a crime? I don't think that's the right way to do it. And I think that that's kind of the point behind a wall, is safety and to make it mean something to become an American citizen. So that is actually going to be our poll for the day. Is very similar. Should religious leaders get involved with politics? Should they be saying anything involved with politics? And I'll put up a couple of answers here. Maybe you think they should endorse a candidate. They should have that much say in things. Now, my personal belief on the First Amendment is that religion is not supposed to stay out of government. It's the other way around. Government is supposed to stay out of religion. I believe that is what our founding fathers had in mind. So when I vote, whether it's for different laws or whether it's for candidates, I vote my morals. I vote what I believe in, and whoever closely matches that belief and those standards and that philosophy. So my religious leaders and my religious beliefs are what really paint a lot of that for me. So my religious leaders don't necessarily endorse a specific candidate, But they've instilled in me, as well as my family, my parents, have instilled in me a moral compass, and that's the way I vote. So is that putting my religion in politics too? Some people might argue that it is, but I don't think so. So I'll put up a couple of answers here. I'd love to hear from you guys. I'd love to hear what you have to say. If your answer isn't one of those choices, I'd love to hear from you down in the comment section. So now let's talk about the life or death files. And these are, again, ways that people have used firearms in self-defense, and they're fairly current. Both of these have happened in January, actually within probably the last week or so. And I think that it's interesting to see that, firearms are used for self-defense. There are a lot of people say, oh, they're not ever used, and it's just a big lie, but it happens all the time. This first case we have is from North Carolina, and it is a disabled 71-year-old man who was at home watching TV in bed, and he hears his sliding glass door break. He grabs his handgun, and he heads in to investigate, and he runs into a criminal who is entering his home. Shots are fired, and he strikes the assailant twice. Now, I'm not going to question him on his choice of handguns. He chose a .22 caliber. But we're not going to school him on that. Maybe that'll be a subject for a future video or something like that. But he does go on to say, the homeowner goes on to say that, he didn't want to hurt somebody. He didn't want to have to do it. But I think that the way he looked at it was a him or me type situation, and he definitely made the right choice. Now, we're talking about a 71-year-old disabled man here. That firearm was an equalizer. I would bet that he was not equal physically to the person who was entering. However, that firearm was the equalizer in that case. The next one comes out of Las Vegas, and this one, a man wielding a 12-inch knife. He tried to make entry into several homes in a neighborhood, tried to kick in the doors, wasn't able to get in. He finally finds a house with a doggy door. I'm sorry, but that is a horrible way to try to enter a home. But he tried to enter through the doggy door, where he was met by the homeowner with a .45. Obviously, Las Vegas, maybe they have a little bit better choice in calibers than North Carolina, but both were very effective. He fired and struck the intruder in the head and shoulder. Did not specify whether the intruder died. I'm guessing with a .45 struck in the head. I'm going to go with probably did not make it, but I'm unsure about that. If you actually know about this story, I'd love to hear it down in the comments section as well. But one of the neighbors, woman, her home was one of them that was attempted to be broken into, she said, you know what, he saved lives, because if he would have gone into my house, what would have happened? And there are people, I think good intended people, who would say, you know what, just because he had a knife doesn't mean that he was going to attack and kill someone. And you're right, it doesn't mean that at all. But I have to use whatever is in front of me, whatever evidence is before me, to make that judgment call. So he has a knife, I'm sorry, I have to make that judgment call. Truly, if somebody's just coming into my house, I have to assume they have ill intent. They have intent to harm me, my family, my kids, my spouse, and I have to do what I have to do. It actually kind of reminds me of another story, and this one is not recent, but it took place while I lived in Albuquerque. There was a young woman, I can't remember her age exactly, late teens, early 20s, college student, and she had stolen a car. And she was fleeing from police. She got out and decided to flee on foot. Police gave chase on foot. She turned around with a handgun in her hand, swung it towards police, and they fired on her and killed her. There were people who said, oh, she wasn't going to shoot at him. She wasn't going to hurt anybody. She was a college student. She was a young woman with her life ahead of her. Well, you know what? These people who are saying this, I don't know if, I almost get the feeling they would have been happier if the police officer would have been killed. Really, as a police officer, yes, you understand that your life may be put in jeopardy, but you still hope and you expect that you're going to go home to your wife, your kids, at the end of the night. That's something that you still have a right to do, absolutely, and you have the right to defend yourself. And, somebody who's going to second guess that and say that the criminal probably wasn't going to do you harm, they have no right to say that, if you ask me. And for those officers who were involved in that, you absolutely did the right thing. So let's talk about what's new. Glock pistols. There is something new for a Glock pistol. I actually just saw that Glock is coming out with their Gen 4 10mm, but that is not what I want to talk about. For me, 10mm, you know what? There's a lot of people who really like them. I'm not necessarily one of those people. I think it's kind of a novelty type of thing, but for me, you know, I'm on a budget. 10mm ammo is not cheap. 40 cal ammo is not cheap, to be honest with you. But, you know, that isn't even actually what I'm talking about today. What I want to talk about is Raven Concealment. They have a mount out. It was just announced during the SHOT Show. They have a new mount for Glock handguns, and this allows mounting of the Aimpoint T1 or H1 red dot sight. This allows easy installation of a red dot on a Glock handgun. And in fact, they claim that, you know, really the user can mount it and install this thing and, you know, take it out and be able to zero it in and shoot it. And I think that this is awesome. I mean, you know, truly in the past, if you wanted to mount any sort of red dot optics on a handgun, you either had to have it milled, have it specially made, or now there's a few handguns that have plates that you unbolt and you can actually bolt a sight mount in place, but those are a little bit more expensive and things like that. We're talking about just taking a stock Glock handgun, mounting a red dot sight to it, and I think that is awesome. I'll be honest with you, I'm going to make a prediction here. I'm going to predict that within the next 5 years, some manufacturer, somebody, a firearms manufacturer is going to come out with a handgun. It's going to have a red dot already mounted on it straight from the factory. There might already be some specialties here and there, but I think it's going to go mainstream, and I'm pretty excited about that. Red dots are pretty amazing. If you haven't really dealt with them, they are very good optics. Very, you know, they're non-magnifying, most of them, and it's a little bit different the way you shoot. You're actually able to focus on the target, which is more natural. You know, when you're teaching a new shooter, trying to explain to them that they need to focus on the front sight instead of a potential threat, it's very difficult to do. And it's a very difficult habit to get into, is focusing on that front sight. Red dot, you can focus on the target, make sure that dot is on there, and you're good to go. Also, for those people who are getting up there in years, or they maybe have a little bit bad eyesight, red dots are great. My father-in-law, I gave him a red dot a few years ago for, he has a little .22 rifle, and you know what? He said he just was having a hard time even seeing that front sight post. Red dot, put it on there, and he's able to get back in the game, able to shoot that thing again, and do quite well, actually. So that is the new product of the week. I'm pretty excited about it. I'm interested to see how easy it is. I'd like to get my hands on one. I'm not sure when it's going to be available to the general public, but I'm excited to see it. So anyway, guys, I hope you guys enjoyed the show. I hope that you enjoy this new format. I would love to hear your opinion. If there's other segments that you'd be more interested in, less interested in, go ahead and leave that down in the comments section. And as the Prime Minister of the Pistol, I would like to remind you guys to take somebody out. Teach them about guns, teach them that guns can be safe, they can be fun, and that it's not something they need to be afraid of. And first and foremost, we need to be a good example to our children and our families. And until next time, take care and be safe.